is this all the stuff that we've changed? Or is this just highlighted, just a few items that we've changed? The things that,
This is just highlighted. Everything's not in the list that Stephanie just gave us.
okay, the reason why I asked that question, our current rules and regulations are nothing like this at all. So there's hundreds, if not thousands of things that's been changed. I just wanted to point that out. That's kind of a brief overall of what's happened. There's thousands of things that have been changed.
I spend the majority of our time tonight looking over the zoning ordinances and then some on the achieve a consensus tonight on a proposed draft, and we'll go over those changes. We want to make sure that we're working together to try to bring a resolution to this, if at all possible. We want to identify elements that are truly a major conflict from achieving a consensus versus dotting i's and crossing t's. Well, this whole document will go out to a legal team that will clean up and address grammar, punctuation, all those kind of things, and address anything that might be of legal consequence that may have inadvertently been put in. If we get bogged down on a topic tonight, what we want to do, put it on a sticky note. We'll put it over here on the pad, and we'll bring that up later, rather than get bogged down into one issue that will carry on. And if we can't, like as I said, if we can't get to a consensus on this stuff, then let's put it on a note, sticky note. We'll put it on the board, and we'll address those things, and then convene again.
I would like to say, in terms of the ordinance looking different, I think an ordinance to begin with to revise, which quite honestly, I think as the more we got into it, we realized that what we needed to do, and Mr. Chairman, I think at one point you suggested we do this, is just take the ordinance, start at the front, take our existing ordinance and compare it all the way through, which is what we've done. For instance, uses that were in each zoning category are now in a chart. But the uses have not changed. In other words, what would be allowed in a general commercial use is now in a chart, as opposed to in the language that addressed general commercial as a whole. Pretty close to what we've had before.
All right, thank you, Robert. Things that I have asked staff to make sure that we do when we get to a final draft of this thing, that we have a consensus on, is that we put something that would resemble a preamble. We're working to make sure that comes out of the final draft. And it's not our intent to diminish anybody's property rights here. There are other issues in this, in the document that we want to talk about, issues that have been brought up. And what I'd like to do is, as we start this thing tonight, is go to case in point of
this, Mr. Chairman just said that it's more intrusive. It's more cumbersome.
He didn't say that.
It's more cumbersome, and it's harder. He
didn't say that at all. And
it's Commissioner Chairman, Commissioner David O'Quinn, the chairman, before you, charged all of us. He wanted it more friendly, user friendly. He wanted it developmental friendly. You can take this to any developer you want to in Glenn County, and if you give him a week or two to read it, and he gets his lawyer to look over it, he's going to tell you, sir, it's not very.
Well, that's what you can do. That's what you can do tonight. For our purposes, we're going to try to state a case in point. That was my goal, Neil, from the very beginning. Is the people that are going to use the document read the document, read it, find where the strong points are and where the weak points are, but read it and bring those comments back to us. Most everybody has as of yet taken the opportunity to give input on that out in the working community that you and I live and work in every day. But they will have the opportunity once we do this. This is where we're going to try to get to a final adoption. Once the public has their chance to read it, make their comments, come back to us on if it's not a document that this community wants to live with, then it'll get voted down by the commission when it comes to us.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say one more thing, and then I'll hush. The last meeting we had on September 18th, yes, September 18th, me and Mr. Gentry had at least a 30 or 45 minute conversation. he point blank said, Neil, what will make you happy? I said, if you folks, the powers to be, I'm not the power to be, will send this. I'm not talking about that law firm that's gonna tell our attorneys if they have the right to sue me because I don't get a building permit. I'm talking about a firm that will protect the citizens of Glenn County and not take our property rights away from them. They can tell us companies, nobody that has worked on this, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect to you, sir, I have great respect for you. Nobody is a zoning ordinance specialist, a trained professional. And that's all I'm asking for, is to send it to a company to go, when you find folks get through with it, let's send it to a company, let them go through it line by line, and let us inform the public of what's gonna happen to them and how this is gonna change. That's all I'm asking for. This process is to protect the public.
And to say that would imply that the rest of us don't.
I'm not implying that.
And that is, you know, if we can't get down to case in point.
What I'm gonna tell you, this timeline right here indicates to me that somebody is pushing this hard to get this voted on by January of next year, January 2025. There's a lot, sir. If you took this to a company, if you took this to some, it would take them weeks, if not months, to go through this to compare what we have now to what we are proposing. It's not something they could do in 2 weeks, Mr. Chairman. It would take months and months. I told you I would hush, I'm done.
What Stephanie presented
Absolutely.
today, just some clarity. Might be clarity for other folks as well. So the trees per acre requirement that will impact all single family, I guess that's all of Glenn County, not just St. Simons.
Just saying something.
Or just St. Simons, okay. So is that for newly developed, not already final plat approved subdivisions, or does that apply to every residential lot?
Answer. He's saying if you're the last one in on a 10-lot subdivision, I think your scenario would say there's no trees in the subdivision. But I mean, yeah, for argument's sake, that's what you're saying. So what Robert is answered was, if you're the last lot to build, then you have to do the trees per acre and fulfill that on your individual
No,
lot.
I would agree that if I have a quarter acre lot per acre, then I gotta do 2 trees.
Okay.
That meet whatever the standard is that's passed. But none of my surrounding 8 neighbors or 9 neighbors had to do that. So, you know, they invested in land in our community under a certain premise and were able to function under that premise. But because I waited 6 months too late or whatever it might be, I have an additional cost imposed on me that's not imposed on the other surrounding lots that bought in the same subdivision at close to the same time I did. I just waited longer to build on mine. So I'm being, whether you consider it, I love trees, but whether you consider it, there's an additional cost that may have to be paid because they just waited a little too long